Welcome back in to Foolish Club Media. I am Steven Serda. It's a Foolish Club post-game show, and it's a Monday night football game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that's not really a fun game to talk about, Rocky, as the Chiefs fall in Jacksonville 31-28. I guess it was an exciting football game, but it was still what did we say when we got on here, Rocky? It was annoying. It was an annoying football game, to say the least, where in the first half it seemed like, oh, the Chiefs are capitalizing off of that performance from last week, and they had a 5-play 97-yard touchdown drive, and it was like, okay, yes, let's go, we're back. And then it was sloppy play. It was penalties. It was Mahomes trying to impress things, and creates just an awful 99-yard pick six where he's forcing a ball into Juju Smith-Schuster that he's got no business trying to force into Juju Smith-Schuster. And then it felt like he was kind of pressing the rest of the way, and the Chiefs still got back into it. Now, Rocky, they're gonna say, "Oh, Jaden Hicks pass interference," but then I would say, okay, I think there was a lot of bad penalties in this game. There was also a lot of no-call penalties, especially early in the contest, and it was going back and forth for both teams. So I don't think it heavily favored one team one way or the other. But then, the late pass interference call on Shamari Connor, that's pass interference. The Chiefs defense did not play very well. They had problems last year when they faced Liam Cohen in Tampa Bay. And overall, I think that the Chiefs lost this game because they showed up and they played very sloppy despite some positive moments in Jacksonville tonight.
I mean, just mental errors. There was a handful of really nice plays on the defense, but for the most part, just stupid mental errors that you can't have. For instance, Jalen Watson giving the boundary up twice in back-to-back plays. You know what I mean? When the Jaguars have no timeouts, or Trevor Lawrence falling on the ground and the Chiefs being unable to get any kind of quick pressure at all. And he's able to he falls down, gets up, falls down, and then still runs for a touchdown. That's inexcusable in that moment. And then don't get me started on special teams. Obviously Butker's kick out of bounds at the end of the game. You can't have that. You essentially missed a game winner right there. That's the same equivalent. You gave them an extra 20 yards when they had one timeout and less than 2 minutes left on the clock. What in the F? And then the holding penalties. Jack Cochran, back-to-back holding penalties that was
one of the most frustrating things of the night for me, really, because the first one, it nullifies the 60-yard return from Brashard Smith, who Brashard Smith looks like a player. And then at the end of the game, Chiefs, no time, big return from Brashard Smith, and another holding penalty pushes the Chiefs back and essentially says, yeah, they don't have a chance in this one. It's over. Where it's if he gets that return yardage, I think there was a chance they could have at least gotten Butker in field goal range in this one, but there wasn't enough time, and they didn't deserve to win with the way that they played tonight.
Well, it's just there's no situational awareness either. Hollywood Brown not getting his head around on that slant play at the end of the game. It's just those situations over and over again. Even Mahomes' pick six, you didn't have to throw the ball there. You could have lived to fight another down there. It was second down when he threw that, I think. Why? Yeah. There's no reason for it's a tie game at that point. You're getting ready to score a touchdown. Just run the ball or live to fight another down. There's no reason to try to force that play in there. And so across the board, there's lack of situational awareness, even on the coaching staff. I thought there were times that Steve Spagnuolo got frustrated with there not being any quick pressures, and he went cover zero on times when he shouldn't have gone cover zero, and he let his defensive backs just hung them out to dry. It sucks because if you ask me who the better team is, I'm still going to say the Chiefs are the better team than the Jacksonville Jaguars. They weren't the better team today. they didn't play like they were the better team today. I think the Chiefs are the better team. I think if you look at the stats, it bears it out. Like the Chiefs, like when they weren't shooting themselves in the Chiefs were out playing the Jaguars. Now the Jaguars have some very special players on their team: Devin Lloyd, Travis Hunter, even Brian Thomas Jr. And those guys are really special players, and they made some big plays.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take anything away from the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're a good team, but the Chiefs gave this game away. Like there's no other way to look at this other than the Chiefs just let this one slip away.
And that's what I talked about. One of my main things on Show and BK when we were previewing the game this week was like, I do think that Jacksonville is talented. I think their defense is legitimately one of the bigger surprises in the NFL this season. And I think that their offense still has loads of potential that hasn't even really manifested just yet with Liam Cohen. And they're like right now, they're probably ahead of schedule, sitting at 4-1 now after this win on Monday Night Football. So I still think like the Chiefs should have won this game. I think the Chiefs are still the better team. Like I think they're the more talented team right now, but the Jags are young and feisty. And then my other big point was how Liam Cohen's offense last season, you remember that matchup against Tampa Bay last year where the Bucs are really injured in that one. And I think Chris Godwin gets injured in that game too. But they were really banged up on the offensive side of the ball going into that contest against the Chiefs. And it didn't matter because Liam Cohen was scheming things up that were open and giving Steve Spagnuolo problems all night. Like, I think Liam Cohen's a legitimate matchup problem for Steve Spagnuolo as a play caller, where there's not that many in the NFL. But now this is the second time where we've seen him like give Spags some problems. And the Chiefs didn't allow a Jaguars first down until the third drive of this game, Rocky. Like, they started the game strong, and then Jacksonville adjusted a little bit and was like, hey, Trevor, if it's not there right away, just run, dude. And Trevor started using his legs, and the Chiefs didn't have an answer for it. And that's frustrating because we literally just saw what they did to Lamar Jackson. So we know they have an answer for it, Rocky. They just weren't doing it to Trevor Lawrence because I think they thought they could get there. And the secondary didn't play great tonight. And then you factor in all of the penalties and everything that led to this kind of loss. And it's just a really frustrating outcome for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, for sure. And a lot of that problem, like the secondary, they did struggle. Like I mentioned, Jalen Watson, I didn't think had a good game. Chamari Connor on Brian Thomas Jr. with the game on the line. I have no idea why that's ever a thing, or why he's even on the field at that point. But there was a few different times in the game too where you saw like even Brian Cook and Jaden Hicks getting burnt because they were manned up on wide receivers that they just couldn't hang with. And I think the difference between the Baltimore Ravens and the Jacksonville Jaguars is that their wide receivers are much more athletic than Baltimore's are. I know Baltimore has Zay Jones, but I mean, Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, Diambi Brown is sneaky, very athletic. You know what I mean? And so, and Liam Cohen's a great offensive mind. He knows how to scheme up an offense that's going to put up points, right? You know, and put points up. And I mean, I picked the Jaguars to win their division this year preseason over Arrowhead Pride, and I'm standing by that. I think they do win this division this year. They look like the best team in their division, even better than the Colts, who have come off to a pretty hot start as well, in my opinion. And the Chiefs, they have to find some pass rush, right? And I know like if you look at the stats, you're like, okay, well, George Karlaftis has some sacks. You know, the Chiefs got some sacks in this game, but they're all coverage sacks. Like there's no quick wins where you're just blowing it up.
And I bet, Rocky, when we get the pressures and like the rush metrics and all of that stuff, it's going to look similar to what it's looked like so far this season. I bet the Chiefs are going to look like they got a lot of wins in that department, but that stuff's not factoring in. Like, like, okay, are you doing that in a second and a half, or is that win coming like after 3.5, 4 seconds in coverage? And like they were getting some pressure on. Like George was in there tonight. Charles Menahu got a sack, and I don't think Charles Menahu's been very good at all this season. But it's still like we're still sitting here talking about like Chris Jones is still getting double teamed a ton. Teams are still trying to take him out of games, and Chris Jones was disruptive a couple of times tonight, despite Jacksonville's offensive line doing everything they could to try to keep him out of the game. But those other guys just don't win fast. And then against an offensive coordinator like Liam Cohen, and Spags is going to dial up all of the blitzes. Well, Trevor was winning with the quick passes. Like he was winning with the quick outs, and that's what he was going at, or just those quick little like hook routes. Like Trevor was winning with those a lot, or he was taking off and running. And so Jacksonville's offense wasn't like super explosive. They did have a couple of big plays tonight. The Travis Hunter like insane grab, and then that throw from it on the final drive from Trevor Lawrence to Brian Thomas was a thing of beauty. But other than that, they were dinking and dunking and controlling the clock and going on these long scoring drives. Like it's kind of reminiscent of the 2024 Kansas City Chiefs offense, like what the Jacksonville Jaguars did to Steve Spagnuolo tonight.
Oh, it really was. And I mean, like coming into the game, like you thought the Chiefs need to shut down Travis Etienne, and then they have a good shot of winning this game. And for the most part, they did. They shut him down. And Etienne's a really good running back. And so the Chiefs' run defense is looking good. But with the pass metrics thing, like the thing that's not showing up on those pass metrics as well is if, say, you have 4 rushers and 2 of them win on a play, but both those guys win on the left side of the line and the right side of the line does absolutely nothing. It doesn't matter if the left side of the line wins on that play or not, because the quarterback is just going to scramble out the other end because there's no containment and just run for 15 yards like Justin Herbert did in week 1. And we saw that time and time again with Trevor Lawrence, today. And I think, our buddy Ron Hewley, posed on X just now that it's becoming a trend that the Chiefs aren't making the winning plays. I think that is the difference, right, between this year and last year. Last year, Isaiah Likely gets pushed out of bounds before he makes the game-winning touchdown. This year, Chamari Connor, gets pass interference in the end zone. Like, last year, we get a big kick return when we needed to set up, or in years past, we get a big kick return to set up a 13-second miracle by Patrick Mahomes against the Bills. This year, we get a holding penalty, and Harrison Butker kicks the ball out of bounds on the kickoff, right? And so in those, every game comes down to like a handful of high leverage moments, and how you play in those situations is going to determine the outcome of the game, because there's so much parity in the league. And in those high leverage moments, this thus far in the season, the Chiefs are dumping their pants in those moments. They're not coming through like they did last year.
Yeah, and it's frustrating. Trent McDuffie comes up with the interception. It was probably pass interference. It should have been called. Like, it was. Like, you can't just lay out a wide receiver, even if you want to pretend like it's accidental contact like that. Like, that should be flagged. But yeah, and I think that's the defense after having, back-to-back really strong performances. Like tonight was frustrating, and because it was going against a team that I think with guys that are talented enough to give you some problems, and it was just annoying. Like, and I think the Trevor touchdown at the end of the game where he falls down, gets up, like dodges a tackle, like, and like walks his way into the end zone. Like, it was just exactly that kind of game for the Chiefs. It was just a super frustrating performance where the defense started this game flying around, and it seemed like it was going to be like, I was like, okay, cool. Like, I nailed this prediction on Joe and BK. Like, the Chiefs are going to come out here and dominate. And then after that, and the Chiefs go up 14-0 early, and then Jacksonville drops 21 straight points, and the game just totally turns around because the Chiefs just started playing sloppy and shooting themselves in the foot. And And Jacksonville's defense is talented, but I don't think it was anything that they did in the secondary. Like Devin Lloyd is having an incredible season. I don't think that they did anything defensively that should have stifled the Chiefs that much on offense. I think the Chiefs just started playing sloppy, and it's frustrating because it felt like maybe we had turned that corner last week. And then, through the first 3 drives of this game, I think the first drive, it felt like you had a chance to go score a touchdown, and it's a Jawan Taylor penalty that winds up stalling out that drive. But then you go back-to-back scoring drives, and it's like, okay, they got to figure it out. Let's get it. And then it's immediately back to like, okay, some of this stuff looks like the first half against the New York Giants again. Like, can we just get some consistency? Because sometimes when they're playing well, they look like they're one of the best coach teams in the NFL. But then when they have games like this, and it seems like they're so undisciplined, and they're so frustrating to watch because you can see the talent on the field, and it's more than it has been in recent years where they have still found success. But those teams simply, like Ron put it, like those teams found ways to win, and they did not drop games to teams like Jacksonville in week 5 on Monday Night Football. And this team just does. And that's why they're 2-3 through 5 weeks now, with a huge matchup against a offensive powerhouse Detroit Lions team that's on Sunday Night Football next week, and they're 4-1. So
don't remind me.
It's not going to get easier for the Kansas City Chiefs. Like they've got to step up, and they've got to figure this out. Some of this is the growing pains of young players, because they're more dependent right now on young players than they have been at any point. And I think that's even true than the last small reset that they went through. Like there's more guys starting this year that are in the first or second year than I think the Chiefs would have even preferred. But it's because they also chose, in part because they knew the contracts they had to sign, and they chose to get this deal done with Trey Smith and Nick Bolton, but they decided those were the guys they wanted to build around. And I'm not saying I have a problem with all of that, but then that's what happens with, okay, George, we're going to give you a team-friendly deal. We're going to just bring back Charles Omenihu and hope that Charles, with all of this time behind him from this ACL injury, is finally going to be the player that we thought we were getting a couple of years ago. Just turns out that Charles Omenihu doesn't have that much juice left. Like, it just looks like he doesn't have a lot left in the tank right now. And the pass rush is hurting. And the defense isn't good enough right now because it's dependent on so many young guys, and they're mistake prone. And then the offense just falls into these sloppy habits like we have seen them do over and over again, Rocky.
Yeah. I mean, the sloppy habits are on all 3 phases of the game. I mean, honestly, like it's on the offense, it's on the defense, it's on special teams. And I mean, there was early in the season, you had a couple of bad actors that you could point the finger at and say, yo, it's these people. But right now it's kind of coming from everywhere. You know what I mean? And you don't want to hand out like laurels when you lose a game like this, but there were some positives to take from this game. I mean, Kareem Hunt, like where did that Kareem Hunt come from? He had a 30-yard run in this game. That might be the longest run that he has for the rest of his career. That might be his last 20-yard plus run that he ever has in his entire career. And
he had a hurdle too.
He had a hurdle as well. I mean, Kareem Hunt was out there giving everything that he had. And then, I mean, and listen, the pick 6 was painful to watch, but I mean, hats off to Tyquan Thornton, man. Dude hustled back down that line to try to stop that touchdown and knock that ball out. He was this close to pulling on L'Jarius Sneed and saving that play. And so, listen, I still don't think the sky is falling, but the Chiefs are playing an offense next week that averages 34 points a game and is the number 1 offense in the NFL. So, there's that.
If there is a small silver lining, the Lions secondary is maybe the most beat up secondary in all of the NFL right now. But Aiden Hutchinson and their defensive line is a problem. So not only is their offense insanely good, their defensive line is kind of an issue.
Well, and then I also really don't have much faith that our edge rushers are going to beat their tackles at all. Like I don't
will say,
foresee.
I think their left tackle was out this past week, so that's something to monitor ahead of week 6.
Well, that's good because otherwise I'm gonna say like I don't foresee Ashton Gelati having a lot of like success against Penny Sewell out there on the football field. You know, there's just no pass rush right now. That there's just no quick wins, and on the offensive side of the ball, it sucks because aside from some small errors like that Hollywood Brown not getting his head around, like I thought the Chiefs wide receivers played a really good game. Like the offense, like you score 28 points, you should be able to win in the National Football League, right? Yeah, you score a go ahead touchdown and the other team has less than 2 minutes and one timeout. Your defense should come out and stop them, especially when they've been literally on the bench for 3/4 of the second half. If you think about it, right? Like the Chiefs come out, have that huge drive, throw a pick 6 on the goal line, and then come back out, get the ball again, have a drive. Or sorry, so they come back out, get the ball again, have a drive. And then the defense is on the field, they get the interception, and then the Chiefs go on another long drive to win the game, right? And like the defense spent tons of time on the bench, right? Like they shouldn't have been gassed at all in the second half, right? And so the fact that you're not able to get any kind of pressure or hang in the secondary is like the offense, if anybody had more of a reason to say that they were tired in this game because they had back-to-back long drive drills essentially, you know. But it's just this team is like I love this team and I love the players on this team, but God, they're just so annoying to watch sometimes when they're playing like this. Like I love the Chiefs, but it's hard to watch. It's just literally like watching like it's like my toddler has like 2 Lego pieces and he has them facing the wrong way and he's trying to put them together. And I'm like, hey, buddy, want me to help you? And he's like, no. And he just keeps on repeatedly doing the same mistake over and over again. And I have to sit there patiently and watch him do it for 30 minutes straight. That's what it's like to watch this Chiefs team sometimes. And I mean, it's okay because at least, you know, we're still early in the season. Like they can either turn things around or we get to watch them do this for multiple more weeks.
And that's why it's even more frustrating because it's like you just feel like this is a game you should have won ahead of next week, which legitimately I think is going to be a very tough game to win. I think the Lions are really good. And I still think the Chiefs can go toe to toe with anybody. But I think part of the problem with all of that is that, like, yes, the Lions no longer have Ben Johnson, but they are just supremely talented on offense. Like, you can, and the Chiefs' run defense, like, I do think it was good tonight. Like, I think they can try to slow down Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, but then Sam Laporta is a good player. Amon-Ra St. Brown's having an amazing season. Jameson Williams, when he wins big. Like, he doesn't always win, but when he wins, it's usually for like 60, 70-yard touchdowns. Like, their offense is really fun, and Dan Campbell's still a really, really good head coach, and they're going to be a huge problem next week. Now, I still think the Chiefs have the talent to turn this around at 2-3. Like, I don't, and even if they fall next week to the Lions and go 2-4, I might still be sitting here on the postgame show, Rocky, saying I still think they have the talent to turn this around. And it's not just going, it's not totally falling apart and this thing's not over. It's just that we've seen like the promise, and I do think tonight that Xavier Worthy probably just wasn't healthy enough to really be out there. Like, he winds up having an okay night on the stat sheet, but like he does go down at one point in this game. He winds up he only misses a couple of snaps, like waves the trainers off, but like he goes down clearly in pain. That ankle issue that just popped up over the weekend that didn't seem to be an issue all week last week in practice, and then all of a sudden Chiefs land in Jacksonville on Sunday and his ankle swollen. So it's something that must have happened in practice this week. And now all of a sudden he's got an ankle issue, and it just didn't seem like he quite had the explosiveness that we saw last week. And like, he still had an okay night, But I do think that like he's bringing a different element of speed, even than what a Tyquan Thornton's bringing. Tyquan Thornton winds up with a nice night too. Like winds up your leading receiver with 90 yards and has multiple deep targets once again. But I think that was also in part because the Chiefs weren't really sending Worthy on a ton of deep routes tonight. They were keeping him close around the line of scrimmage because I think he was just banged up. And so I think that affected things and that stifled the offense a little bit. But it's like if he was that banged up, do you really need to like run him out there? Like, was it that big of a plus to have Worthy in the game to catch 6 passes for 42 yards?
Yeah, I mean, somebody had some of that Jacksonville like swamp voodoo on Xavier Worthy the second he stepped foot in Florida. I'm convinced because it's crazy how it just like popped up like that. But when he went out of the game with that ankle injury, that was, I mean, like he had one catch after that, I think, right? But like for the most part, he wasn't nearly as effective even as he was earlier in the game. And it's because he looked slower and he looked more hobbled, and he just wasn't like you said, he probably shouldn't have been out there, but the Chiefs needed him out there, right? You know, like that's the problem is this offense is completely different without him. You know, even if he's just a guy who's enough of a playmaker that defenses have to respect him, and he's a diversionary player at that point. It's like the Chiefs needed him on the field in this game. So hopefully he is healthy next week. Hopefully he does get, you know, treatment and everything turns out to be okay. But it's, you know, like let's just be real. Like until Rashee Rice comes back, which we're nearing his return, Xavier Worthy has to be on the field for this offense to be as explosive as they want it to be, just because he just opens up so many other things, you know. And so, I mean, like the thing is, like I still think like you take away the pick six, the offense played good enough to win this game today, right? Even with their mistakes, you know, like really, you got to hang this one on the defense and on special teams.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it was just it was the defense. Like, and now it's, you know, it's going around Twitter now, Rocky. But I didn't initially notice this when it happened in the game. But that final touchdown for Trevor Lawrence, like Chris Jones stands up at the line of scrimmage, sees Trevor Lawrence go down, and then does not even like chase him. Like, it's just literally walking. As Trevor Lawrence crosses the goal line. And, you know, I don't know, maybe Chris Jones is banged up. But it does seem like there's some energy problems this season with him. And I don't know if he's frustrated, like they drafted Omar Norman Lott. I don't know if he's frustrated that maybe he thinks they didn't bring in enough help for him this season. Maybe he legitimately is. Maybe this is the year he's finally just slowing down. But, I mean, it's pretty apparent that we all know he's still the guy that every opposing offensive line keys in on and tries to shut down, because the Chiefs aren't good enough anywhere else right now along the defensive line. And maybe Omar Norman Lott does turn into a legitimate player. Like, he's shown some signs, but he winds up being out in this one. And then I think Ashton Gelati looks like occasionally like he's going to be a nice role player for them. But he's a young rookie player who has kind of been thrust into a pretty big time role earlier than I think he thought he would be, or that anybody thought he would be. And, you know, I just don't know if Ashton Gelati's ever going to turn anything into more than anything than like a Mike Dana-esque type of player, like, you know, a mid-round defensive lineman that you draft and you get meaningful snaps out of and like contributing snaps out of. Like, the Chiefs simply don't have anybody else right now. George looks good on paper and in the metrics and stuff like that, but George just doesn't win fast enough. They don't have any other game wreckers, and if there's an energy problem with Chris Jones, or he's just frustrated because he's getting double teamed and triple teamed every snap because they aren't afraid of anybody else winning a one-on-one matchup, like, they got to figure that out, because you're going to go up against the best quarterbacks in the league and they're going to beat the blitzes sometimes. They're not always going to fall for it. And I think the Jags offense in the late third quarter and then into the second half, like they were adjusting to Steve Spagnuolo, and the Chiefs didn't have answers on the defensive side of the ball.
No, they didn't have any answers on the defensive side of the ball. And just sitting here, just thinking about while you're talking about that Trevor Lawrence play, like it just reminded me, like it was so bad. Like it just reminded me of like those old Goofy cartoons where he's like trying to put on skis and then he like trips, falls, and then tries to put on the other ski and then falls and then puts on his pants, gets it wrapped around the ski, and ends up tumbling forward down the slope, goes off a ski jump, and then somehow lands it and like gets a gold medal at the end of the cartoon or something. Like that's what that play was. Like Trevor Lawrence looked like an old school Goofy cartoon, and the Chiefs just somehow let him get the game winning touchdown. But to a good point here in the comments by Ron on the Chiefs, and I agree with this. Like Steve Spagnuolo is blitzing cornerbacks like he still has L'Jarius Sneed on the team, who's blitzing the cornerback, and he still has Tyrann Mathieu or Justin Reed on the back end, and who's leaving Jamari Connor on an island late in the game. You know what I mean? And it's not working out.
And I think what sucks about that too is that we're seeing a lot more Jalen Watson blitzes, because I feel like the Chiefs know how important McDuffie is in coverage now. And we've just seen how dominant McDuffie can be in that role. And it's like we're seeing a lot more of that kind of stuff this year too, which is frustrating. And then like I still think, Brian Cook, credit to him. Like I was hard on Brian Cook coming into the season. I think Brian Cook has played pretty well this season. But he's still getting a lot of one-on-one coverage snaps now. Like Spags is moving him up occasionally. And then Jaden Hicks still a very young player who's like finding his way, but then shows signs. Like the early stop on Trevor Lawrence where Jaden Hicks was just like a missile, like blew through two different Jags blockers to blow up Trevor Lawrence and stop him short of the goal line early in that game. Like that was an awesome play by Jaden Hicks. And that's what he's bringing to the table, but he still has developing to do. Like they're just their secondary overall right now is frustrating. And that's why I'd like to see more Noel Williams, because it just seems like Noel Williams, every time we see him get in the game and play meaningful snaps, he does something that catches your eye. And I'm not saying they need to. I still think Jalen Watson is a good player, even though he's had ups and downs this season. It just feels like they've got some talent that they're not fully utilizing right now, when it's pretty clear to all of us that the secondary has been pretty up and down through 5 weeks.
Yeah, and I think it's like here's I think the reason why the Chiefs defense has been playing better recently is that Spags wasn't necessarily living and dying by the blitz, right? Like against the Giants, he was kind of rolling zones. Against Lamar, he implemented a spy on Lamar to kind of like keep him at home. And then today he was like, okay, we got to generate some pressure. We got to speed things up for Jacksonville. So I'm going to go back, to my old safety, safety valve. And I'm just going to blitz the crap out of them. But it doesn't work when you have an offensive mind like Liam Cohen you're going against, and a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence who could just get the ball out of his hand faster, and Spags, like he's a defensive genius. Like he's the most successful defensive coordinator in the history of the NFL. Like I'm not going to sit here and just like crap on him, but at the same time, like he does get a little tunnel visioned sometimes with wanting to try to generate pressure if pressure isn't coming. And I think that they could maybe gone to a little bit more of a shell there at the end of the game instead of going cover zero on the game winning drive when time was not the friend of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
And this loss is particularly annoying in the AFC because it just feels like the AFC is absolutely wide open right now. Yes, the Colts are 4-1. Jacksonville's 4-1. The Chargers, their offensive line so decimated by injury. They look like a total shell of that team that we saw from the first 2 weeks of the season right now. They look like the old Chargers again. They're just so banged up and have so many injuries. Like, I actually thought the Chargers, like, a month ago, I was like, Chargers look like a problem. And the last 2 games, they have just looked like the same old Chargers now with all of those injuries. The Broncos coming on after an upset win over the Eagles. And then the AFC North is just a total mess. Like, Bengals 2-3, Ravens 1-4, Steelers 3-1 coming off of a bye, but I don't think any of us believe that Steelers record is real with Aaron Rodgers right now. Like, I've watched some Steelers games. They're not an impressive football team, Rocky. And then the Buffalo Bills just coming off of a loss to the New England Patriots. And yes, it's Josh Allen. Yes, it's the Bills, and they're going to win a lot of games this season. And they're especially going to win games against bad teams. But I do think that Bills team has more red flags than they have had in the last couple of years, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And their pass catchers are okay, but like, they don't have any game-changing players in that regard. And I think that's something that's going to catch up with them. Like, the AFC it doesn't feel like there's a single dominant team in the AFC this year. And so it's like, it feels like all of that stuff is still achievable for the Kansas City Chiefs if they can just figure it out, because when it's looked good, I would argue that their best has looked as good as any team in the AFC. The problem is when it's bad, it is rip your hair out bad and frustrating, and it always feels self-inflicted. It always feels like it's something that they created themselves because they aren't executing and they aren't playing well. And maybe it is a team energy thing. I would just think that this team, after coming off of an ass kicking in the Super Bowl last year, that they would be a little bit more fired up coming into this season to try to bounce back and prove that they can go get another ring.
Yeah, and I mean, this is exactly what the NFL wants. The NFL wants parity, right? Like, they want everybody coming back to the mean and everybody to have similar records and schedules and everything. And to a point, I guess it's kind of working, right? Because we don't see anybody in the AFC that's just probably going to run away with it. And everything the Chiefs want is still right in front of them from a record standpoint, right? But they do have a tougher schedule than everybody else does the rest of the way. The Chargers schedule is a bit of a cakewalk the rest of the way. The Denver Broncos have a couple of tough games, but here's the thing: is at most the Chargers and the Broncos, if they play halfway decent football, have 4 or 5 losses left on their schedule the rest of the way, right? So the Chiefs' margin of error is shrinking by the week. They're going to have to go on a 6-7 game winning streak if they want to be able to, to achieve the goals that they have for themselves this year. And right now, I just don't know if they have the consistency. They have the talent, but do they have the consistency in order to do that? But I feel like we were saying this, was it 2023? Like, something similar to this happened, I felt like. And then the Chiefs did go on a run. I'm never going to count them out.
I think they've done it before in the Mahomes era. I don't think it's ever been this bad. I don't know if they've ever been 2-4 no, they've probably been 2-3, not 2-4. So we only played 5 games. I'm tired. It's been a long day. It's a very frustrating Monday Night Football game. Yeah, I mean, I do think that they have had stretches like this, and obviously it's annoying tonight because if they get this win, you're 3-2, tied with the division. Chargers still at the top because they beat you in week 1, but like, this version of the Chargers is a totally different team than they saw in week 1. So, and it doesn't look like it's getting better anytime soon. Like, until they get Joe Alt back, I don't think that you can rely on that offensive operation. And then they just put Amari and Hampton on IR today. So, like, the Chargers offense is falling apart at the seams right now. And you still get Rashee Rice back, Rocky. And the offensive line has been playing better. I think Jacksonville's defense, for as good as it was, and Mahomes saw some pressure tonight, but like I do think that the offensive line has gotten better, and we've seen growth from Kingsley. We've seen growth from Josh Simmons. Juwan Taylor still as frustrating as ever, but like that's just something we got to live with. Occasionally he's going to have a good game mixed in there and not get called for penalties, and then he'll have another game where he gets called for a handful of them, and he is a very upsetting player to watch. But I think overall, I think we would take this offensive line all day based off of the time and the way that Mahomes is looking, where he's buying time and creating, because that's something that didn't seem like he could do it all last season. And so I think we have to be happy with that. And then if Rashee Rice is the guy that we all think that he can be, maybe that's really what it is. It's just get to that Raiders game and hope Rice is ready to hit the ground running, and then this thing is a rocket ship and they can go on a run. Because right now, that's just the most frustrating part about all of this, is that like we know that there's another level to this thing. We know that they are better than what we have seen. There's just nothing they can do to change that right now based on the circumstances that they find themselves in.
Yeah, and like preseason, when we knew that Rashee Rice is going to be out, we said 3-3 when Rice comes back. You feel pretty good about the Chiefs' chances to go on a run and kind of close this thing out. I don't know if I feel as good about our chances to go on a run and close this thing out as I did before, just given the consistency issues. But then again, at the same time, it's like everything's changed so much from week to week in the NFL. Right. You know what I mean? And like so much of it is just mental errors. I mean, for God's sakes, like it isn't like we do just go back to this being an annoying game though, because I sit here as I'm saying this and I think about the fact that Trevor Lawrence like literally just couldn't even snap the ball tonight. Like he just got delay game after delay game after delay game. And it wasn't like the Jaguars were, doing these amazing things to try to beat the Chiefs. Like for a lot of this game, with the exception of Devin Lloyd's awesome play, a lot of this game was just like which team was gonna like hurt themselves the least. You know what I mean? And so it's like I'm not sitting here saying that Jacksonville is like this juggernaut by any means, which also makes it so frustrating because like look at the box score. The Chiefs outplayed the Jaguars on a play-by-play basis. They just didn't outplay them when it mattered, and they hurt themselves too much. Like this just all comes back to the Chiefs playing sloppy.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm sure it's not the last time they're going to play frustrating football this season. But I don't think it's the last time that we're going to have some fun football games too, and that we're going to have some highs created by this Kansas City Chiefs team. This game is just frustrating because I do feel like this is a game where they are a better football team than the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think that I can say that right now about their matchup against the Detroit Lions next week. But this is a game they simply should have won. And it was just a totally self-inflicted loss. And the difference is we've seen Mahomes more often than not like carry them across the finish line in these ones. And tonight he simply couldn't do it because the defense didn't give him a chance to. Even though that pick six was on him, and he's going to own up to that because that's the kind of thing that he always does. But frustrating loss for the Kansas City Chiefs. They fall to 2-3, ahead of just another monster Sunday night football matchup against the 4-1 Detroit Lions next week. So we'll have that covered for you here on Foolish Club Media all week long. Got an episode from the Week 5 recap of Foolish Fantasy coming your way tomorrow with Kramer Sansone. I know Kramer's having a lot of fun doing those. You guys seem to be really enjoying them, so thank you for checking those out. Beach Season with Rocky and Kramer will be back later this week. Show and BK towards the end of the week, and then plenty of other content here on Foolish Club Media as we get ready for another late one, Rocky. Another Sunday night football contest for the Kansas City Chiefs. Hopefully they can climb back to 500 with this one in week 6. So we'll
at least Jared Goff isn't mobile. We can hold on to that.
That is very true. We do not have to worry about Jared Goff running around and picking up crucial first downs at key points in the game with his legs. Jared Goff doesn't really do that. So Steve Spagnuolo will be able to key in on him a little bit more in that one. But hopefully we're celebrating a win next week instead of breaking down a frustrating loss. So thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. As always, subscribe, rate, and review. We will talk to you guys later this week right here on Foolish Club Media.